Can you relate to this experience? A client books in with you for a major service, maybe a color correction, extensions, bridal, and you have this stress, right, of seeing this appointment booking with not a whole lot of information and not really sure what to expect when they come in that particular day. Of course, you want to create an amazing experience for that guest, but without having the right information, it can be a real challenge. In today's episode, we're going to break down how you can be prepping for success to maximize your chances of delivering an amazing customer service with those types of situations. Check it out. Welcome to the Salon Scoop, a podcast by Salon S.O.S. I'm your host, Scott Moon, the founder of Salon S.O.S, and I'm obsessed with helping salon professionals live their best life. In this show, we shop talk all things salon to bring you real life stories, debates, entertainment, and inspiration to help you find happiness and success in this beautiful industry. If you work in the salon industry in any capacity, this podcast is open to you. So set down your scissors or rinse out that toner and let's get into it. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Salon Scoop. Today, we are going to get the scoop on how intake forms can elevate your salon experience for your guests and how they are relevant and important, not just for the salon and the service providers, but for the guest as well. With me, as always, to delve into this topic is the one and only Sarah Perrin, salon owner, service provider, digital content guru. Sarah, thank you so much for being with us here today.
Thanks for having me. I'm stoked to talk about this because it's been a big thing that we've implemented in our salon recently, and it's been kind of a game changer. So I'm excited to kind of dive into it.
Yeah, and I'm excited to get your insights, from mostly the salon owner perspective, a little bit service provider perspective. I think it'll be, great for our audience to be able to kind of hear. But the scenario that I presented, in the intro is, quite common out there. And we all have this quest for excellence, obviously, but we don't always have the right systems in place to allow us to get there. Now, me personally, I'm a organization nerd. I love, planning, prep, spreadsheets, having information. If I don't actually write stuff down, I'm completely lost. Mm-hmm. So what you're going to be talking to us a lot about is how we actually are having proper forms, with information that we can satisfy not just, I think, today's, customer, but then have that information on file to help us with future visits as well. So why don't you start off just by sharing with us, what you see as the real benefits of intake forms, both from the service provider standpoint and the client or guest standpoint.
Yeah, for sure. So I feel like, again, like you said, it's super beneficial for both parties because instead of going into, this major service that's, a big investment for the client and a big task for the service provider, you just have the necessary information to be able to come up with a game plan before they actually are sitting in your chair. So I find especially for color correction services or these major corrective hair services, just getting that information before they even step foot in the salon is huge for the service provider. It just, again, allows them that extra time to be able to prep, to maybe, talk to a more senior stylist about, recommendations for certain things. And then for the client, I feel like it's beneficial because they're also going in knowing that this isn't just a, sit down, we'll figure it out as we go kind of thing. So I think it just instills a little bit more confidence in the client, especially when they are making a major investment like this. The other thing that I find to be hugely beneficial coming from the salon owner / service provider point of view is now all of a sudden you have all of this on file and in writing, right? So let's say, the client isn't happy because we all know that corrective services can be a process, right? So having them sign off on something saying, today I might not make it to my end desired result. And maybe things happened in a way that they shouldn't because they have cut like at home box dye on their hair, or they have hard water at their house, whatever it is. It's like you've kind of covered every base. And I always explain it as a little bit of an insurance policy, so that if there are any issues following the service, you have it in writing, like, oh yeah, you signed off on this knowing that it was going to cost this much. You signed off on saying that, the only way to upkeep this is by using professional product at home, so on and so forth. So it is, again, it definitely is a confidence booster for both client and service provider. But as a salon, it is also kind of a great insurance policy as well, to make sure that you have everything in writing, if things go awry or if there's an issue after the fact.
Yeah. So how does this differ from just a regular consultation that I might do with a new client, or is this the same? How do you see that?
It's very similar. And again, I feel like depending on what the service is, so if we're looking at like a color correction versus a wedding booking, so for color corrections or major color services, we like to send this out a couple of days in advance. So again, instead of having just like, again, a thorough consultation, which should be happening regardless, like how we like to do this is we send out the intake form, they fill it out, then the service provider has a few days to kind of game plan, come up with a solid plan moving forward, everything. And then when they actually are sitting in their chair, they go through and have a solid consultation with the guest after, based on this information that they've already received. So I feel like that's why it differs a little bit, because there is just that extra time to prepare for it, as opposed to trying to come up with something on the spot, right? Because again, as service providers, we've all been in that situation where, let's say somebody sits down and, what are we doing today? And they want to go platinum blonde, but you had no idea that they had black box dye in their hair. Whereas at least if you have that information a few days prior, you can kind of, again, come up with a game plan, come up with the script, come up with, the process and everything like that, so you can properly explain it to the guest, instead of kind of panicking when they're sitting in your chair, right? And then for things like bridal services, it's super beneficial to have something like this, instead of having to go back and forth a million times. Where are we getting ready? What time's the ceremony at? How many people are a part of the wedding? What time, like all of these things kind of thing. So it's like, before you even, provide all of the pricing and everything like that, it's like you get all of this information so that you can provide accurate quotes and realistic timelines and everything like that. So again, I feel like the biggest difference between like an intake form and a consultation is the extra allotted time to prepare and be able to, kind of convey your message with confidence, as opposed to trying to come up with something on the spot, right?
Yeah, and it sounds like it's gonna help you prepare your consultation, and it's an important tool to utilize as part of a really great consultation.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's an added bonus to the consultation. It doesn't replace the consultation, but it's a great thing to have to go off of. Because again, like we've all been there. Like I myself have been in situations where somebody comes in and I'm just like, holy shit, this is kind of out of my zone of genius, right? Like I don't know what to do. Whereas if I at least had the time, to consult with other people or do a little bit of research or whatever it is, it's like, then I can portray that message with confidence, as opposed to being scattered and panicked kind of thing. So, and then like you said, it's super, super beneficial to have all of this information on file so that you can refer to it in the future. It's just, again, a great thing to kind of cover your butt and have all of your ducks in a row, right?
Love that. Okay, so a lot of listeners out there might be saying, "Wow, okay, actually, this is good." Like I do my consultation and I gather all the information, during the consultation. But yeah, this might have been really good information to have, a few days ago. So this is like helpful. Other people are thinking, you know what? Like I do this, I have an intake form, and so we already do this. I'm not sure if this is, if I need to keep listening. So why don't we give our listeners some insights as to what are some of the key elements of a comprehensive intake form for different scenarios? Like what should we be having on the intake form? What should be asking to have the best possible version of it to to help us then provide, the great experience.
For sure. So I think that this is where like, again, with the intake form, it's like you can get as detailed as possible. But I think it is thinking about those kind of last minute random things that will pop up that really can make or break a service, right? So again, with the intake forms, it is more for those major services. So I'm going to use things like color correction, bridal, hair extensions, like these big investment services as kind of examples. So for a color correction, a really important thing is, have you had any chemical treatments done in the last year? Please specify, because if they, just had their hair permed a week before, or let's say they have black box dye on their hair from 4 months prior, like that could make or break the end result, right? So it's really important to know that and be able to, again, come up with a game plan moving forward. Um, Things like, are there any areas of concern? Like, what do you not like about your hair right now? What do you like about your hair? Are you open to multiple sessions for achieving your desired look? Or are you hoping this is going to be a one and done? Are you also open to recommendations for at-home hair care? Because sometimes people will drop, $1,000 on a color correction and then go home and use drugstore shampoo, and it's like that can completely adjust like the end result and the integrity of the service long term, right? Another big thing is, what is your desired outcome for this specific session?
Mm,
Because I think it's super, super important to be transparent and realistic with what you can actually do. So I'm always like an aim low, miss high. I like to under promise and over deliver. So again, if we're going from, black to blonde in one session, it's probably not going to happen. Even Kim Kardashian, that has all the money in the world, I think we all can picture when she went blonde for the Marilyn Monroe thing, and you can see busted, brassy. Like, I'm like, doesn't matter who you are, that is going to happen when you're doing such a major transformative service, right?
for
And
sure.
then a big thing is, what is your beauty budget that you'd like to stay in within this appointment? Because you never
Ooh,
want to have sticker shock. And again, I think we've all been there where it's like, even if you knock the service out of the park, and then you go up to the till and it's like, oh, this is, $750. And in your mind, it is worth every penny. You use so much product, you spent hours on this kind of thing. If the client was only expecting to pay $200 for that service, they're going to be they're going to be pissed, even though the outcome is great. So knowing what the budget is, and I always frame this as a beauty budget, like, because you don't want to ever make people feel cheap or anything like that, right? Like, you don't want to be like, oh, because you're only willing to pay this much. Like, so you just want to make sure that you're providing realistic expectations for what they are willing and able to pay at that appointment. So
it's
that's a
really,
big one.
really, yeah, really
Yeah.
important and super valuable, Sarah. That's great, because what you talked about at the outset, like why it's important, is because it's like it's setting the expectation of the entire service. So asking those last two questions, especially like what's your desired outcome, and do you have a beauty budget? I don't think those are critical, to really help you establish that expectation and to stimulate that conversation prior to the service. So thank you for sharing that.
Oh, for sure. And again, that's important to go over in the consultation, obviously. But when talking about money, it can be a little bit uncomfortable in person, right? So when you're sitting in the chair and it's like, do you have a beauty budget that you'd like to stick within? And you kind of panic, you're like, no, it's fine, whatever works, kind of thing. Whereas at least the client, before the appointment, if they fill out this intake form, they're like, I'm comfortable spending $350 on this service today. Then you can tell them, within that beauty budget, this is what I can do for you today. And if you're looking for, XYZ as a result, we might have to plan in the future to do that. And again, we can work around your beauty budget. But again, just creating those realistic expectations, right?
Love it.
Another big one, obviously, for bridal services. So we do a ton of weddings at our salon. So, and we have done. I'm our bridal coordinator right now, so I am fielding emails every single day, like, how much does this cost, and what is this, and what is this. So now, instead of having to individually write an email to every single person, like, oh, what day is your wedding? I need to see which stylists are available, and then I can provide an accurate quote. We just send an intake form that they're able to fill out that has all of the necessary information that then allows us to provide a quote. Something else that's really important too is like including things like, not only like, the date of the wedding, the number of people needing services done, preference if they want in salon or on location, but also reference pictures of what people are actually wanting. Because again, if somebody just wants, a quick curl, versus a super detailed updo, that's going to take a lot you can't base a quote on that, right? So just like getting really detailed with these so that you can provide a solid quote and then also have a really solid game plan for that day. Same thing with makeup. Like I like to ask, like, would you send a picture of, your wedding party so that I can make sure that I have all of the shades of foundation that I need and all of the, shadow palettes that I need and everything like that, right? So again, it just kind of sets you up for success so that that day goes smoothly as opposed to having, a million different forms of communication asking this question and this question. You just have everything in one place, right?
Love it. Yep. Makes sense.
Yeah. And then again, I won't dive too much into hair extensions because I feel like it's very similar with the color correction thing. You just really want to make sure that you're, again, like getting that what they're comfortable spending at that appointment, maybe what some of their lifestyle habits are that could affect the longevity of hair extensions. And again, it's just, this is more so I feel like of kind of an insurance policy so that you make sure as the stylist and as the salon you have all the information so that because again it is a high investment service, so you want to make sure that you have collected all of the information that you need so that you can properly educate your guest on how to maintain it after so that they are protecting that major hair investment.
Love it. And if anyone has any questions about this, or you want a little bit more detail, or what should I be including for this type of service in terms of an intake form, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We'd be very, very happy to take a look at it for you and provide you with some feedback based on any specific scenarios that you have. So you can always reach out to us by email at info@salonsos.ca or on our socials at salon.s.o.s. More than happy to take a look at that. Okay, Sarah, you've provided some great insights here in terms of like what we should be putting on our forms. So I'm ready. I'm a salon owner or service provider, and but how do I where do I create this? So I just write it down in an email and I send it out to my customers, or is there, because I'm not that adept with technology, so I need something that's simple that I can use, that I'm going to be able to send out, get the information back, but then also store it. So can you just talk to us a little about the actual implementation and managing and storage of this information?
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. So this is a big thing. I like that you brought up storage because it is super important to have safe storage of all of this information, the same way that you do with all of your other client information, right? So you want your team to be able to easily access these forms to send out and be able to read them, but you don't want them just willy nilly hanging out all over the place, which is why I like a digital form of this as opposed to, again, an in paper form or whatever it might be, right? So I personally, at our salon, we use Cognito. I love it because it's super easy, super user friendly to build out these forms. But there's also other ones, there's Google Forms, there's Jot Forms, there's all sorts of different form creation technologies online, and some of them are free, some of them you might have a monthly subscription fee kind of thing, but Cognito at the base level for the pretty basic stuff, they just, I think you can create, X amount of forms for free. We, for this one, just because, again, we really like to look at this as an insurance policy, we pay the extra so that there's actually a signature at the bottom, like a digital signature. So I do feel like that's also an important thing to remember because, yeah, again, this information that they're providing to you, as soon as they sign their name on it, they are saying that I recognize that you have provided me with all of this information, that I am providing you with all of this information, right? So again, there's so many different ways that you can, create these forms super easily, where again they can just click on the link. So how we do it is our girls just have the link, they just copy and paste it, so they grab the email of whoever is booking the major service, and they just paste the link, and that client can go and fill it out before their appointment kind of thing, and then they have access to be able to read all of the information there. So yeah, again, there's so many different ways of doing that kind of thing, but I personally really like Cognito, or Google Forms is another really good service to take advantage of if you use Google Business, everything like that.
Yeah, and Google Forms is free, right? So just as
Yeah.
a free option that's out there, and then it's all stored electronically. Also, some salons, if you still want, you could print it out, right? If you want to actually keep the paper on file in the salon, if you still have that as your sort of safety blanket, it's certainly possible to do that as well afterwards. But amazing. This has been really, really insightful, Sarah. Thank you for sharing. It really makes it now seem like, these intakes forms, they're not just, paperwork, another paperwork to fill out. It's actually a strategic tool for the salon to not only prepare for a big service, but to kind of create an understanding, with the guest, which ultimately is going to enhance the overall experience, right? If the guest feels that they've properly been heard, they've been able to express themselves, you're aligning yourselves on expected outcomes, you're aligning, on budget, and you're even getting signatures. So it's kind of having an insurance policy. If someone's not happy, you can kind of go back to that. It's actually a really strategic and important tool to help you deal with these sort of like high ticket services, more complex services. I think you've broken it down really, really well for us, Sarah. So thanks so much for all those insights today.
No problem. I feel like I just gabbed and gabbed, but like I say, I've noticed a huge difference just in the confidence level of our team being able to use this. And again, long story short, intake forms take out the guesswork, right? So I feel like if there's one message to take away, that's what it is.
No need for guesswork. All right, everybody, go get those intake forms set up. You might have them already, but maybe it's an opportunity to go and kind of like revise them. We want you to take the information, that we share with you in these episodes and actually, implement the information, the learnings, the ideas to help you take, even a slightly, stronger step in your business. That's what we're here to do. And we hope that you appreciate the information that you've heard here. We appreciate you listening, and we'd love for you to rate and review the show for us, whether it's on Spotify, Apple Music. It really helps us to continue to deliver more content for the industry out there. Thank you so much for listening to the Salon Scoop podcast. This show is produced by Salon S.O.S, a digital marketing agency by industry professionals for industry professionals. If you want simple and affordable solutions for any of your salon marketing needs, such as websites, client loyalty, Google search rankings, social media, or more, come visit us at salonsos.ca or on Instagram at salon.s.o.s. If you want to hear more episodes like this and help us continue to bring the industry great content, it would mean so much to us if you would support us in one of the following ways. Either share this episode with one other industry professional and rate the show on Spotify or write us a quick review on Apple Music. We want to hear your feedback. If you have follow-up questions or ideas for future episodes, please reach out. DM us on Instagram at salonus.s.o.s or hit us up on our website again at salonsos.ca. Again, thanks so much for listening. Now go get your hustle on, keep smiling, and we'll catch you on our next episode.